What is good, everybody? Hope you are all doing good in the chat. Hope you like the new surroundings. Hopefully it seems a bit more up to date, a bit more legit. I don't know what you want to call it. But of course, we start off the stream with what is everybody drinking. I'm drinking wine because it's what I had in the house, a bit of rosé. Hopefully you can all hear me okay. As usual, listening in on my iPad until my voice kicks in so I know if the audio is all good. But let me know in the chat. I have messed around with the audio settings, so I don't know if it's going to be as good as it has been in previous streams. But I'm trying to get rid of the buzz of my laptop, which is over here. So hopefully everything is good. Although, yeah, cool. Might be a bit low, in fact, which is a bit annoying, but try and put that up just a little bit. But let me know in the chat, guys, and we will get on to some FPL business. As you can see, my code is there. So feel free to join the FPL Today League if you haven't already. And, of course, my Twitter is there as well, guys. And we have the new live screen, which has a bunch more information on it. And I think it just looks a bit nicer. So let me know what you think of the layout in the chat. And hopefully I've got some feedback on the audio. Audio is great. And then it says you seem quiet. So sorry about that if I seem a bit too quiet half point. Hopefully I've just boosted it up a little bit so that sounds a bit better. But more feedback on that would be great. We will just go through who is in the chat. We got Matthew Berry, we got Daz Dark, Anne O'Brien, Alan Arjaninovic. Good to see you in there, mate. Fire Tog, Jamal Rice. Saw some of you in the FPL family stream yesterday as well. We got Half Pint. We've got Aftahlu Fikri. Probably said that really wrong. Sorry, mate. Walid Hashim. Tresco Hassan Hansen. Great at names, I am. Mark Byrne. Owen Bowles. Peter Gray. Jeff Holt. Blessing Arolo. Mr. Sponsor. Another Hoops, the newest, well, one of the newest patrons to the family, and CRO Chelsea. Good to see you all. Not much feedback on the audio, but appreciate the nice layout, guys. And yeah, finally, Fantasy Premier League is here. But there's no football. Well, there's friendlies, but friendlies don't count, which is really disappointing. World Cup's kind of spoilt me. I haven't known what to do with myself for a week. So, yeah. Anyway, is there anything I want to share with you guys before we actually get into your questions? I'd just like to say, first of all, I think Arnautovic is looking like a decent investment. Despite the fact of West Ham's fixtures being pretty bad, I know he has had a decent start to pre-season. I mean, West Ham have Liverpool, Bournemouth, Arsenal, but I think once they get past that first three, it might not be too bad. In fact, after that, no, it's awful. It's literally awful. They've got very small bits of good fixtures. Chelsea, Man U in game week 6 and 7, Tottenham in game week 9. But Arnautovic is still impressing, so I do like the look of Arnautovic at the moment. And Crystal Palace as well seem like a very good area of investment for potentially some cheap defenders. Because I've forgotten his name. Is it Aaron Wan? Something beginning with a B. He has started, I think, in a recent bunch of assists. And I think recently... I think it's his third start. Let me just have a look, see if I can find it. And he's 4 million, which is beautiful. I mean, he did get subbed off for Schlupp by the looks of it in this game. I cannot... There we go. Third consecutive start of pre-season, so fingers crossed for him starting. Of course, we've got Arnautovic as well. My microphone is literally just covering my back button, which is going to be an absolute nightmare. So, apologies for the change in sound just then as I try and move my mic so I can actually see my back button. Hopefully that hasn't ruined the audio too much as well. And I mean, West Ham, their team is starting to look pretty good. I know I'm a bit biased, but Arnautovic, you've got Felipe Anderson, Yarmolenko, Wilshere. Rumours of us going for Zaha, but I believe that when I see it. You've got the big teams with a lot of players missing as well. So there's the potential for upsets with West Ham. And then, of course, the Palaces, the Evertons, the Bournemouths, the Burnleys have decent fixtures at the beginning of the season. Even Wolves have pretty decent fixtures if you ignore the likes of, say, Man City and Man United. So there's definitely some options we can look at. And that is why you will see that my team has changed. And this is where I hope to get a little bit fancy. And we will get rid of my face. And there you can see a decent shot of my team. New thing to the stream here. Make sure that's all lined up for you. So as you can see, sneak peek into what my second draft video probably is going to look like. We've got Foster and Fabianski in goal because I'm not sure about the rotation situation at Southampton. I have a feeling that potentially their new signing is going to be the newest addition to the goalkeeping lineup. Is it Gunn? Angus Gunn, I'm pretty sure. So Angus Gunn is the one that will probably start for Southampton. Then we've got Fabianski. I just love the look of Fabianski. Save points. He did it at Swansea. He could do it at West Ham. Defence looks a lot stronger. We've got Shaw, Coleman and Alonso. Three, I'd say, premium defenders. Shaw is in there for now because I feel like he's going to start. Man United are good for clean sheets generally, so that is why I've got Shaw in. Coleman and Alonso, potential attacking returns, if Alonso is still in favour, that is, of course. And then Daniels and Cedric can be my rotation pair, or just not play if I don't think they're going to do that well. We've then got Salah, Sane, Lamela, Pedro and Diego Jota. I think that's how you say it, like Jesus Jota. I'd probably saying that so wrong, but 3 6.5 million midfielders. I do have 0.5, so I could upgrade to a 7 million midfielder, maybe a Ramsey. But I feel like Lamela's going to start, Pedro's going to start, and I just like the look of this guy, out of position potentially, Diego Jota. And then Sane and Salah are my main midfielders. And then up front, Aubameyang looks on form during pre-season. Arnautovic, it was going to be Zaha, but I just really like the look of Arnautovic at the moment. And I feel like the big teams may be there for the taking at the beginning of the season. And then Quayner's there because he's cheap. Could, of course, upgrade that to a 5 million striker instead. But I'm thinking I might play 2 striker formations at the beginning of the season. And then see what happens with the wild card. Which, if you know me, I've always been a proponent of the 3-4-3. So I am definitely surprised about me potentially doing that. Anyway, back to business and back to the chat. And I think the audio levels are now okay, as I'm generally seeing. So the first question comes in from, and again, just a quick note, I may be a bit more selective with questions just as the streams get busy, purely because this is the time of year where everyone is suddenly interested in FPL. So to keep things within a decent time frame, because I've got a newborn to think of, I will be a bit more selective over the questions that I'm going to actually answer. So first off, we have Aubameyang or Aguero. For me, Aubameyang is definitely the safer option at the beginning of the season because he didn't have a World Cup, so he's got full pre-season. Aguero, of course, has the pedigree in the Premier League. He has been there for a while. He's done the business season in, season out. Maybe not last season as much as he has done before. But for me, Aubameyang was so impressive during the tail end of last season, or second half of last season. And I think also he is going into the season off of good pre-season form in an Arsenal side that potentially are quite strong compared to a bunch of the other sides, other top 6 sides. Because if memory serves me correctly, if I think about their whole team, they have some new signings that Torreira bloke, I think is how you say his name. He did quite well in the World Cup. You've of course got Koscielny didn't go. You've got... See, I'm not thinking of many of their players that jump out to me as being in the World Cup. So I think their team might be quite strong for the beginning of the season. So Aubameyang definitely looks like a good shout to me. But I mean, once the season gets going and Aguero's back, if Aguero is starting, I fancy both. With the new manager at Arsenal, though, there's of course the likelihood of Aubameyang playing out wide, which could curtail his points return. A lot of talk about that on Twitter about Lacazette or Aubameyang. Right now, I'm still leaning towards Aubameyang, however. Is Martial a good option for the first 3 game weeks? I will be honest, I was considering it. I was definitely considering it, but I will tell you why I am not leaning towards Martial anymore. If we have a look at his stats for last season, 18 starts. Of course, he's more likely to get starts at the beginning of the season because of the World Cup. Goals 9. So, I mean, that's not a bad return. 1 in every 2 games, roughly. 5 assists. I just don't know whether the returns will be there from a Man United side that can be defensive. Don't get me wrong, last season they started the season off extremely well, getting a lot of points. And they have Leicester, Brighton, Hove Albion. They then have Tottenham, but then a lot of good fixtures after that. But I think by the time Burnley come around in game week 4, the full strength squad could be back. So it's Leicester and Brighton you're looking for points for. I personally never know if there's going to be like a defensive masterclass from Mourinho. I feel like other sides are going to be more attacking, more free-flowing than the Man United side. So that is why I personally am not going towards Martial for now. Pre-season could change my mind, but at the moment, Martial isn't one I'm considering. We then got Ederson or Lloris. First of all, both great keepers. Both likely to get you a decent amount of points. Last season, Ederson had 16 clean sheets. Lloris had 15. Goals conceded. Ederson 26 to Lloris's 35. Both the same price. Both played about the same amount of games and very close to the same amount of minutes. Total saves, Lloris had to make more. So if you're playing for clean sheets, Man City potentially give up less big chances that the keeper have to save. So Ederson could beat Lloris again this season for clean sheets. But of course, save points are going to be a big factor as well. Lloris getting 1 less clean sheet, but with 32 more saves, potentially Lloris is going to get more saves. That could potentially show in the actual goalkeeping situation. If we have a look at goalkeepers and their points, Ederson actually outscored Lloris. So if you're going off of last season and the amount of clean sheets, Ederson would be your better pick. But if we actually have a look at the fixtures, and this is assuming that you're willing to spend transfer on fixtures, Man City have a better fixture list than Spurs, but not by much if you're looking at the long term. And if you're going for a premium price goalkeeper, you're probably thinking of just sticking with that goalkeeper. But I would say in the first 3 game weeks, Ederson is 1, more likely to start, and 2, in game week 2 has Huddersfield at home and then Wolves away. So I would go Ederson would be my answer to your question there. And that question was from Tresco Hansen. So thank you for the question, mate. Mark Bien. New to this, Firmino or Sane? To me, and I'll try and explain this to the best of my abilities, I think you need Firmino or Mane if you don't have Salah. But I then think if you have Salah, you don't necessarily need Firmino or Mane. Now, the reason behind that for me is it's the beginning of the season. So, also, I didn't even notice I got a new subscriber. Didn't even get notified myself. So, thank you to whoever that new subscriber is. Fast and... can't read that. Fast and bulbous. Okay. Not something I thought I'd be saying on stream anytime soon. Anyway, Firmino or Sane? Firmino, for me, again, sorry, if you have Salah, do you need Firmino? Because Salah would be your captain option straight away. And the proponent behind having Salah at 13 million is if he's going to be a captain, he kind of counts for 2 players. As long as he's scoring, that is good. 2 players, you got 12 players scoring instead of 11. That then makes Firmino's value kind of diminish, because you're not going to captain Firmino if you have Salah. So you're kind of limiting your captain options. Later on in the season, when you're more confident in, say, Liverpool are really on form and they're scoring 4 regularly, and Firmino and Salah are getting goals, then that's when you kind of try and bring in 2. I know at the end of last season that was the case. Having 2 or even 3 Liverpool attackers was quite a good option. But at the beginning of the season, I would say go for 1. So if you have Salah, I'd say the other one to go for is Sane. Sane looks very nailed on again for the start of the season, whereas Firmino did go to the World Cup. So I'd definitely look at Sane over Firmino for the beginning. And just generally, I'd say Sane until we see exactly what the new season has to offer. Because yes, we can try and go off of last season, but things change. Liverpool definitely look stronger. And because of that, there's the potential that Firmino could definitely get rested at times as well. Then again, Man City, of course, are the kings of rotation as well. But I think at the beginning of the season, Sane is likely to start. Owen Bowles, just with I remember being here when you had 700 subs. You've grown well. Thank you very much. Still wanting to grow more. We'll still work on that. Anne O'Brien, I'm just going to quickly go over your side. I'm not going to spend too long on my teams, purely because that's what kind of slows the stream down a bit. We got Forster Fabianski in goal. Again, Fraser Forster, unsure of whether he is going to be the first choice keeper. Robertson, Alonso, Shaw is a good back 3. That's a very strong back 3. I like that. Salah Sigurdsson, Pedro Silva, Toussaint. Well, forget Toussaint. That's 4-man midfield. Again, like the look of it. Toussaint, Wood, Auba, I like. You've got the Crystal Palace one that I can't really say the name of, and Bennett. Bennett, with the transfers coming in at Wolves, I'm not sure he will still be a starter by the beginning of the season. However, I do like the looks of Wan-Bissaka. And we have a new member of the flock. We got Dan Jenkins joining the flock. Can we get some birds in the chat? Apologies for missing any previous subscribers. Finally got my sound on my computer, so I'll hear it. And then Neves, good choice. He's going to be a starter. He's 5 million. He may be on penalties, on spot kick, free kick, dead ball duties. So Neves is a decent pick as well. Do you think Trent Alexander-Arnold will start for the first game weeks? The reason he's not in my team is because I'm not risking it. I think he went to the World Cup. Yes, he didn't play that much, but I don't want to risk putting Trent Alexander-Arnold in and then he doesn't start. I'm trying to go for people who will start, and I'm trying to kind of cover high ownership is another thing I'm trying to do, because the last couple of seasons, if you watch my channel, the first couple of game weeks I've not had the best ranking, and then I've worked my way up. I want to see if trying to cover high ownership will allow me to have a better start to the season. Now, I'm not just going to pick anyone with high ownership. It's going to be players that I have some faith in, but I will look at every high ownership player, and if I think he could do well, he's going into my side. Okay, Owen Bowles' side. We've got Fabianski in goal, great choice. Foster, we've got the same goalkeeper, so I can't argue with there. Coleman, Alonso, Robertson, good back 3. De Bruyne, Eriksen, Milivojevic, Grosh, Mkhitaryan. That's a nice 5-man midfield. Eriksen, I'd be a little worried over starting, as is De Bruyne. Even Milivojevic could be a risk, but I don't think they went into group stages. And can I just say, I believe this is the first time in a while I've gone over, or first time ever potentially, I've gone over 100 people currently watching. So thank you guys so much for the support on the stream right now. Then up front, Aubameyang and Toussaint. I prefer Arnautovic and Zaha myself, just because I feel more confident in their performances. And then on the bench, Cedric and Daniels, can't argue if I've got them too, and Reed. So not bad bench there as well. Omid Szabo, why the Alonso pick? 1, his record in the Premier League. 2, he started today, and he's very highly owned. If I have a look, I think he is, if we go defenders and ownership, he's the 5th highest picked player, and I think with his explosiveness and the fact I think he's going to start because he didn't go to the World Cup, I don't want him not in my side. Robertson would be the other one I'm worried about. I want to see how Liverpool start with their left backs and right backs, see if they attack as much, because they seem to return a lot more in the second half of the season than they did in the first half. Trippier, Maguire, I don't think are starting the season. Daniels, I've got. Alexander-Arnold, I'm not sure about starting. So, literally, the first choice premium defenders that I would consider are Alonso and Robertson. And then Van Dijk is there as well, and then the ownership kind of drops off. So that is why it's Alonso there at the moment. It's also very easy to downgrade to Robertson from Alonso. So that is why we have Mr. Alonso in the side at the moment. Not used to drinking wine on the stream. We got 110 people watching now. Let's keep that number going up. Why do I now not have a live count on my screen? I'll be refreshing that over and over again. Gordon Gilbody, how you doing? With the strongbow. And lunch or breakfast, so yeah. You look all set up for the stream, mate. Double up on Everton defence, week 1 to 4. Jeff, doubling up for me this early in the season is something I've done before and kind of regretted. I like to try and cover my bases at the start of the season, so I'm not going to be doubling up week 1 to 4, even though the fixtures are great. Now, the benefit of that, of course, is if Everton do go and get 4 clean sheets on the trot, you have killed it with your defensive picks. So there's definitely a bonus to doing that, but not something I will be thinking about doing myself. The Blaster 110, Lamella as a punt, because you probably had to remove him after a couple of weeks. Yes, true. I am imagining I'll have to remove him. I'm hoping by that point other options would have come to the forefront for me. Also, I will be playing my wildcard somewhere between game week 4 and game week 6 and 7-ish area. Not going to nail on when I'm playing it like I did last year. I said literally first international break, I'm playing it straight away. This time I'm going to try and see if my team is doing well. I won't play it as early, but I will use it by around game week 6, because by then I think we've got enough information to really make our decisions. So he is a punt. He's my Spurs coverage right now until I know which Spurs man to get in, or if I even need a Spurs player. Okay, we've dropped to the bottom of the chat, so yeah, you're going to have to wait for me to find out where I was. So Sammy asks, Zaha, Tosun or Arnie? Thanks. Now for me right now, Arnie, the only reason you wouldn't go with Arnie is because of the fixtures. West Ham's fixtures aren't good. Tosun and Zaha's fixtures are better, but I believe the issue there is Zaha could play out wide. Tosun hasn't, 1, played in the league as long as Arnautovic, and 2, didn't have the same goal scoring record as Arnie last season. So for me right now, I think Arnie is the safer pick. I think those are definitely free to keep your eye on though. I think one of those 3 could be the main £7 million striker to have. Jeff Holt pointing out Noble, Mark Noble, 5 million on penalties. Again, I just feel like if you're going to go West Ham, there are some exciting options there. But Noble is a good option at 5 million. Any penalty taker at 5 million is a good shout. Wolves on the brink of signing Moutinho from Monaco. I've heard they've actually signed him. I'm assuming Moutinho and Neves will play a double pivot, is what my guess would be. I think that makes their midfield very strong and creative, potentially making them a good area to look at. I just feel like Jota or the attacking options in front of these players may be the better pick, which is why I've got Jota at the moment. But good point, Azari Ali. Hopefully I said your name right. Nice, Mark Antigua. I've seen you think my team's now very well balanced. We got Kez the Owl OP. Fabianski, good choice in goal for me. Forster, I think that's a risky pick with Southampton and the free goalkeeper situation. Daniels, Trent Alexander-Arnold, Cedric. Good back three. I think it could potentially be stronger, but I'm assuming you're going to have more strength elsewhere. Your front three, Aubameyang, Arnautovic, Firmino, looks very good, and I would, of every other season, said yes, go for it. I now feel like potentially there isn't as much value in having three strikers, with more teams going towards a one-man up front formation, 4-3-3, 4-2-3-1, that kind of thing. So for me, I'm actually trialing out this season, and this isn't necessarily something that will stay, but I'm trialing out going for more money in midfield and seeing how that pans out for me. Hopefully it pans out well. But we'll find out. If it doesn't, then you'll see me on stream a couple of weeks in hating myself for not picking a front three. We've got midfield. Milivojevic, Salah, Mkhitaryan, Sane, Aubameyang, Arnautovic, Firmino are the front three. I've already spoke about them. Midfield looks good. Deulofeu could be a great shout on the bench. Bednarek was one of the popular 4 million options as a defender, but I think he's likely not to start now because I'm pretty sure Southampton have signed someone in defence recently, so I wouldn't. Potentially the Crystal Palace £4 million defender looks a good shout. Ryan Bennett potentially at Wolves as well. Malone is a very popular option as well, but I'm not sure he's a starter. For me, Blessing Arolo, if we are looking at Man City midfield, Mahrez is the one that's played the most minutes so far. So Mahrez is the safest option for me to start. Sane has also played in friendlies so far this season. So Mahrez or Sane would be the two I'm looking at. Of course, your budget is going to depend on that. But for me, another subscriber, Benga Sofalu, has joined. Can we get some birds in the chat for Benga? Thank you so much for joining the FPL family. FPL family is a completely different YouTube channel. Thanks for joining the flock. See what happens when I watch someone else's stream. Their name gets in my head. KDB for me is too risky a pick. I don't think he will start the season. So don't go with KDB, Blessing. Go with Mahrez or Sane. Dove True Blue. Gunn went to Leicester. Did he go Leicester? Angus Gunn. Really? See, I need to not work anymore so I can keep on top of all this. If he went to Leicester, then who's that? But never mind. I digress. But I've checked. Yeah. I feel like Gunn is going to be the starter for Southampton. How about double up? Oh, we got another subscriber. Neil Brooks has just joined the flock. Can we get some birds in the chat for Neil Brooks as well? You know what to do. Double up on Pickford and Stecklenburg. Set and forget. That would work because a lot of people are going Pickford because of the, I think part of it is World Cup hype. But he won't start the season. Is Stecklenburg going to start the season? If he does and you want to set and forget and you have that much faith in Everton, go for it. I would not put that much faith in Everton so early on though. For me, that would be a very extreme jump of confidence in that Everton side. Don't get me wrong, I think Marcus Silva could do great things there, but I'm just not sure they'll be getting that many clean sheets. Good to see you, Shashank, in the chat. Mark Antonio saying that Ramsey is 7.5. Definitely considered Ramsey. Could move to him from one of my other three midfielders. Ramsey probably more secure a pick than Lamela. We've just got another subscriber as well. I'm not even going to try and say that. And then one straight after that. Only one Archie. We're rolling in the subs right now. Rolling in it. Ramsey probably definitely more nailed on than Lamela. So I would definitely consider going with Ramsey. As we get close to the season, of course, this lineup's going to change. But right now, I'm just taking a punt on Lamela. If he could stay fit, Lamela's always looked like he could return some FPL points. Dinesh L, your draft team. Can't argue with the keeper, of course. Defence is good. cheap. You've not got a premium one in there, but Van Aanholt is one that can score points. Arnold, I'm not sure is going to start. Nothing wrong with me in your defence. Sanchez, Fred, not sure about Fred. I've heard he's box to box, but I've also heard that he could be playing a defensive role to let Pogba roam forward more. Sanchez is a good punt, I reckon, but he's very expensive for a punt at the start of the season. Just Manchester United seem quite defensive under Mourinho. Milivojevic, good shout. MacArthur, I'm presuming, is the cheap choice. Not sure I'd double up on Palace midfield, though. And then up front, Firmino and Aubameyang. As you've not got Salah, I think having Firmino makes sense. Then on the bench, Walker and Mbemba, Quainer and Norris. Not sure about whether they're starting or not, but as bench choices for now, they will do until you can figure out which ones you want. And we've got Joshua Nixon just joining the flock as well. The subs just keep on coming in. And as you can see, of course, on the screen, we have your names popping up in the corner every time someone subscribes. We also have the last subscriber and super chat underneath my face cam, and a scrolling bit of super chatters at the bottom. Almost like a league table, but it's not a competition. I don't want to start trying to beg. So it's not a competition. I just thought it was nice for people that have done it to see their totals at the bottom of the screen. Colin Barker, are you sure about Foster starting over Gomez? No, but just they rotate well. And if I think Gomez is going to start, Gomez may come in. I just think you bring in someone like Foster, you bring him in for a reason. And potentially he has been very good for FPL points in the past. So I'm hoping it's a marriage made in heaven between Ben Foster and Watford. Fingers crossed, because Ben Foster's been great for me in previous seasons, not so much last season. Thanks for the comment, Eric Stephenson. Take your iPad with you and watch me on your iPad. Richard Quinn, Riyad Mahrez or Raheem Sterling? At the beginning, definitely Riyad Mahrez. Long term, that's going to be a difficult one. Raheem Sterling definitely seems like one of Pep's favoured players, but they've just spent a lot of money on Mahrez. So that is something we'll be deciding once we're maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 game weeks in. Even then, we could still be wrong. But for the beginning of the season, Riyad Mahrez would be one I'd look at alongside Leroy Sané. Fire Talker likes the 3-5-2 formation. What are your thoughts of this mess from another Hoops? We've got Edison in goal, good pick, likely to get clean sheets. I think in the first 4 game weeks, the bookies favour Man City the most for clean sheets. Foster, decent shout. I'm not. If you pick an Edison though, I think it's kind of like you're not really going to be putting anyone else in. So if there's a cheap option you can put in that starts, I'd potentially do that. Robertson, Davies. I think Davies potentially has a good chance of starting. Has got decent stats from last year. We've got Cedric, like Shaw. I think it's a good pick for the beginning of the season. Wan-Bissaka, a lot of people going for him now. Salah, then it's Sane or Eriksen. I would go Sane for the beginning of the season. Martial, Ricarlison. I think he was doing his medical at Everton. Could be good. Definitely had a great start to last season. There's potential he gets run into the ground a bit like he did last season, though, as the season goes on. We've got Hughes as well. Then we've got Firmino, Zaha, King. I've seen a lot of King, and I like the look of Wood more than I like the look of King. Firmino and Zaha, decent, but I'm of the feeling that if you've got Salah, you don't need Firmino at the beginning of the season. I could be completely wrong, but that is what I'm going with. And the wine is finished, so 1 second while I bring up the Iron Brew, because I only had a little bit of wine left, so now we're just on the soft drink, and that way if I have to feed the baby or anything, I don't have a cloudy head. That, and it's also very refreshing. Although I was sat on that glass, should have checked it before I drank from it. So yeah, that's my thoughts on your team and other hoops. Hopefully I did finish answering that question. 125 people currently watching. Thank you guys so much for staying tuned in. Could Sigurdsson be a good punt, or is it too risky at his price? I think it's a good punt because of Everton's fixtures. I would say keep an eye on pre-season, but I think under Silva, Sigurdsson could be immense. Azari Ali, Baines over Coleman, keep in mind set piece duties. True, but when they were both at their peak, Coleman kept head to head with Baines despite set piece duties, and you've now got Sigurdsson to consider as well with set pieces. Is a triple up on Wolves risky? Doherty, Jota and Neves? I don't think so, because budget wise, they're not going to take up too much of your budget. For me, Jota is maybe a starter. Neves is a bench player. Don't know much about Doherty to really comment. But for me, I think it's not, as long as the rest of your team looks good. SM, how will Lamela start? And then Bowles says, because Son is missing the first month. He's not missing for the first game, as we get James Barron joining the flock. Thank you so much for joining the flock. Birds in the chat, if we could, please. Son will be playing the first match, which worries me a bit. But still, you've got Eriksen unlikely to start in my eyes. You've got Dele Alli unlikely to start in my eyes. So I think there's a good chance Lamela will start. Is Alonso nailed? Right now, I wouldn't say anyone is nailed on. We still got 3 weeks before the season starts. August 10th, I believe. Or maybe 9th or something like that. I just feel like with the starting lineup I saw today from Chelsea, I think Alonso could be the starting left back. Jeff Holt is now Mo Salah and not No Salah. I think that's a good choice. You can always come back and remind me if I'm wrong. We got Dinesh L's team. De Gea, of course, is a good option in goal. Arnold Van Aanholt, me. I think I've looked over this team already. Again, guys, if I don't get to your question straight away, it's because I'm behind in the chat. So please just be patient. Cone on, I'm feeling mine and watching. Good man, Peter. Thank you, Nim, for loving the new graphics. Actually done by myself. I had help with the other one. There's 130 people watching now. Keep that number going up. I'm liking this. I'm loving it. Thank you so much for loving the new graphics. Much appreciated. Actually worked quite a bit on this one with the OBS and with the Adobe Photoshop. So quite proud of it. Still need to work on the audio bit, but a lot of you said the audio was okay. CRO Chelsea wants to know from the Wolves fans, 136 people watching. Keep that number rising. Is Jimenez going to be a starter? I think you bring someone like that in, he is. The thing with him is, I'd say, he may be the type of player that is up front, a bit like a Giroud for France during the World Cup, that kind of allows for knock-ons and holding up the ball, and then you get players like Jota scoring goals. So for me, I will not be looking at Jimenez myself, but definitely a decent person to be looking at. Lysius, you have a great radio voice, I wish. I really appreciate the comment, I'm not going to lie, but I do not feel that way about my own voice, I will be honest. But thank you. To be honest, when I started, and some of these guys saw when I started, and then last year I had it as an intro video, my first video did not sound like this at all. We got an Evertonian in the chat if anyone wants to ask Dove True Blue any questions. Half Pint, what do you think of the lack of Burnley cover with their good fixtures? I really thought I would have a Burnley player in there. I really did. The ownership isn't massively high on anyone, but the players I'm considering, of course, Pope I still like the looks of, but I'm worried about the Heaton situation. Me is a nailed-on defender for me. You then got Loughton and Ward, both good wing-backs. You then got Goodmanson, I think is a good shout. A good shout. And you've got Wood and Barnes situation with Vokes there as well up front. So I think there's definitely great options in that Burnley side. One, I couldn't figure out which one I wanted, and two, I think for the beginning I might be able to get away without having any of them. Simon Andreasen, thinking of Schlupp instead of Van Aanholt, played left wing in pre-season. If he does that very close to the season start and then in the first game week he's playing left wing, then yes, I will probably get on the Schlupp train. Did I just make up a... I don't even know what that is. Anyway, definitely one to look at, but right now he's not massively on my radar. That's right, the mascara snake, Fast and Bulbous. I'm missing something there, Fast and Bulbous, but thank you so much for joining the stream. Jeff Holt, Fast and Bulbous sounds like a detective show. Captain Beef, I don't know who Captain Beefheart is either. I'm really missing the puns here. Uzray, oh, by the way, there's polls to go vote on that I've actually put in there that I asked you guys on Twitter for me to put into the stream, so go check them out. Go vote. Uzray Ali, 3 or 2 premium defenders. I would say I'm leaning towards 3 just because of value and reliability of points. I usually would only say 2. Oh, it's midfielders. Why am I thinking of defenders? For midfield, I think 3 if you can get it. For me, I think there's some options for the beginning of the season where you can get someone that isn't premium priced, which could have premium performance, like Pedro, like Lamela, like... Who else could start in that Chelsea midfield? Willian, but he's probably not going to start because he played in the World Cup. But I think there's definitely options out there because Mahrez is going to be only... He's not really premium price, but he could be premium performance. So I think there's options for 3 premium midfielders, definitely. And then as far as your choices, Sane and Salah, definitely consider that. I've got both of them. The third choice, I don't think there's really a premium one that I would put my hat on for the beginning of the season. Once the season started, Kevin De Bruyne is who he is. He's Kevin De Bruyne. Eriksen is Eriksen. I think both of them will always be involved in the goals for their sides. Blazy, Aguero, Aubameyang. I've already answered that. I'd say Aubameyang definitely for the beginning of the season. Then you just have to monitor once Aguero is back. Is Aguero always going to be playing? Is Aubameyang playing out wide? Right now, though, for game week 1, until we get to see more, Aubameyang for sure. Is Kamara starting striker for Fulham? I worry that he won't be by the time the season starts, but if he is, then there's no harm having him as your third striker if you're planning on just having him on the bench. Shashank Bandari, think Davis has always been good. I think Davis has always been good as well. Ben Davis, I'm presuming you're talking about. So yeah, I can't see why he wouldn't be a good choice. You're kind of talking me into maybe upgrading Shaw to Ben Davies. Barry Douglas, he looked very good in the Championship. Could be a good shout at Wolves. I mean, that Wolves side, for a promoted side, that Wolves side looks really, really good. Johnny Blaze thinks Barkley could surprise a lot of people if Hazard goes. I think he might just be really rusty though, Johnny Blaze, Barkley, because how much has he played recently? I mean, I personally don't know why he went to Chelsea, but never mind about that. And I'm just going to stop my iPad playing my stream because I just realised that'd be taking up some of my internet speed. Eriksen or Sane? Sane for the start of the season, false 9. I think I've said that plenty of times. But I really like Eriksen as a player, and at his price, I think he's good to go. So once he's starting regularly, then Eriksen. Lucia Lopez, or Lucia Lopez, depending on where you're from. Is that team for early wildcard? It's for the early stages of the season, definitely. I'm trying to cover ownership and make sure I have starters. So my wildcard will be played somewhere between game week 4 and game week 7, maybe 3 and 6, somewhere around that area. Where do I think Wilshere will play, deep or behind the striker? I think Wilshere may play deep alongside Noble, maybe Obiang. I just think with the other additions of players currently in that West Ham side, I feel like Wilshere may be playing a bit deeper. If he's playing more further forward, then Wilshere could be a good look. Victor and Donov, Naby Keita will be good as an addition. Liverpool fans, if you can tell me, because I'm assuming you've done more research on Naby Keita than I have, apparently he does get forward. He does have an effect on the final third. So he could be a good pick at his price. I was under the impression he was quite defensive minded, but they brought in Fabinho, and I don't think you bring in two players of that ilk. And I'm a lot more confident in Fabinho being more defensive minded. So I'm presuming Naby Keita is more of a box to box. So how effective is he going forward? If you guys could let me know in the chat, that would be fantastic. Is Willy Bolly good for Wolves? Again, I think there's better options. I think Diego Jota is the standout option that a lot of people are looking at. So not for me, Paul Smitten, but I could be proven wrong. I don't know loads about Wolves. Gordon Gilbody, I may be looking at picking my team for up to Game Week 2 and 3 then wildcarding. That's exactly what I did last year. It didn't go too badly for me. I'm going to try and pick a team that lasts a little bit longer, but generally the best players in the game will use their wildcard by about Game Week 7, the latest. So I definitely think that's a good strategy. The Blaster 110, how come you went for Coleman over Robertson? I know there's a 0.5 million difference, but surely returns for Robertson are going to be much higher. Also, we don't know much about the Everton system. That's completely true. I went with Coleman at first because I hadn't picked the rest of my side. I wasn't expecting to end with 0.5 million in the bank, so that could change. I think the reason it was Coleman, I think a bit of nostalgia is there over that. So that is why at the moment it's Coleman. But Robertson did very well for me last year when I did have him. I just worry about how attacking the fullbacks will be for Liverpool. I've already said it once at the beginning of the season. What do you think about Jorginho in terms of fantasy points? Is that Wijnaldum? I wouldn't. If it's Wijnaldum you're talking about, I wouldn't risk it with all the change at Liverpool in the midfield. Alan Dillon, how you doing, my friend? Any news on the Chelsea goalkeeping situation? I'm still in rumours that Courtois is leaving, so I'm not going near a Chelsea goalkeeper. And if the Chelsea goalkeeper that comes in isn't one that I favour, I probably won't keep Alonso. Oh, if it's Jorginho, the Chelsea signing, too defensive-minded for FPL, I think. Ian Berwick, Arsenal mids, Özil, Ramsey or Mkhitaryan? I'm kind of leaning towards Ramsey because of price and because I think he's very consistent compared to the other two. So that would probably be my go-to there. But again, don't know much about the new system that would be played at Arsenal. Did Kane play from the beginning? I'm not sure the beginning of what. So, what formation are you going for? At the beginning of the season, I mean, right now, again, don't take this on board too highly. It's 4-4-2 right now, but Jota could easily come in for someone. I mean, Cedric's got a good fixture as well. It's almost to the point where my first game week, I'm kind of like, too many people have good fixtures. The hard fixtures are Arnautovic, but I still think he could get something against Liverpool. Aubameyang up front. Sane has Arsenal. So, other than that, I think the fixtures look pretty decent for the first game week. And then Jota has Everton at home, and then Cedric has Burnley at home. So, 4-4-2 it is at the moment, but don't assume it's going to stay like that. Team could change. TP is back in the chat. Good to see you, TP. 141 people watching now. I think that is like, that's almost doubling my highest amount. I think 80, 90 was my highest amount before. So, wow. I might have to blast through some questions now because we're 54 minutes in and the wife is waiting. Can we compete with ditching Salah? I think it's possible, but I think you have to have Mane and Firmino. Maybe both, maybe just one. And then be confident in someone else as your captain choice for the first couple of game weeks. Fulham players I wouldn't go to just yet, but Ryan Sessegnon is the standout one. Is Pickford a good calling goal? Not for beginning of the season, but I think he could definitely be a good shout. Free premium defenders or free premium midfielders? I think potentially could do both if you don't have two premium strikers, Zeri Ali. What Southampton players do I rate for FPL? Cedric. Yeah, just Southampton left a bit of a bitter taste in my mouth from last season. I'm sure as pre-season goes on, I will pick out some options. The false 9, you've just got the answer from TP. He thinks McCarthy unless Gunn comes in. We spoke about Barkley. He's definitely got a chance of starting, but I wouldn't really go with Barkley just because he's not had much game time. And Rasmus, thank you so much for joining the flock. Much appreciated. Firetalk is going to hold his wild card and then do some free hits if necessary. Not free hits, some -4 hits to do like a mini wild card. Aspi under Sarri, will he come good? There's definitely potential. Aspi's a great player and very versatile, so I don't think you've got too much at risk picking him. Evan J. Fox, we're doing my teams very quickly. McCarthy could be decent. Cedric Daniels, like the back three. Salah, Sane, Jorginho, I don't think is the best option in midfield. I think there's better options at that price. So I wouldn't go with him. 147 people watching. Ericsson, not sure is going to start. Aguero, Firmino, and Zaha. Firmino might not start. Aguero may not start, but I like both as picks. Again, I said I'm not sure you need Firmino if you've got Salah, but... And then Zaha, I'm worried that he may be shifted out wide again, but if he's not, if he's up front, Zaha's a great choice. Will Peter Cech be number 1 or number 2? Apparently, Bernard Leno didn't have a very good first game in pre-season, so who knows, Kev McCoy. What do you make of MK Dons getting relegated last season by Ray R? I don't like talking about MK Dons. I go off on a tangent if I do that. Maybe I have thought about doing football videos over the weekend. Well, I can't talk about FPL because the games are going on. So potentially I might give my thoughts on that at some point. Isn't Pedro risky? I think at the start of the season, Hazard isn't going to start. I think Willian isn't going to start, even if they both stay. So I think Pedro will start, Dove True Blue. Anna O'Brien's tempted by Lacazette. I'm definitely considering Lacazette. Cheaper would allow me to spend money elsewhere. So 152 people watching. Thank you so much. Massive numbers today. Massive numbers. What about Barry Douglas of Wolves? I definitely like the look of him. But stats usually drop off for promoted teams and promoted players. So I'm not going to assume he's getting 15 assists again. Did Kane play from the beginning of last season? I think he did, but Kane doesn't score in August, even if he does start. Stephen Walker, evening to you. Israel Ali wants me to downgrade Coleman so I can upgrade Pedro. I like the look of Pedro. Best 6.5 million midfielder. I'm really liking Jota at the moment. I know he's from Wolves, a promoted side. I wouldn't usually go there, Anne. But right now, he's the one that really appeals to me because I feel like he sometimes leads the line and he could get attacking returns for a 6.5 million midfielder. Milivojevic is the safe option with the penalties, though. He's 6.5 as well. Pretty sure, Dinesh, I went over your team. I'm not going to do any more my team, guys, so apologies for that. Lamella or Pedro, I'd probably lean towards Pedro, although Lamella is in a side that hasn't had a manager change, but my gut says Little D to go with Pedro. Say Hazard stays at Chelsea. Who would you go for? Start of the season, probably still Pedro. Pedro, like you said, Blaster 10, 110. Great value. I don't think Hazard will start even if he stays because of the World Cup. So that is why Pedro for me is an okay option right now. Do I have any tips on structure? If you're talking about team structure, I did release a video last year on what players usually pick, how much money they put into different areas, but I think as a whole the game has massively changed, and I think the money on midfield last season would have put you in good stead instead of trying to get 3 really good strikers. Now, of course, if someone like Jamie Vardy in his really good Premiership winning season comes along at a very cheap price, you bring him in. But unless you can find that really cheap budget third striker, I think you can just pick the cheapest third striker possible that starts and just have a 2-man strike partnership and spend more money in midfield. Also getting some premium defenders in. I'd say at least 2, but I'm potentially going for 3 this year. Predict Butland's price if he joins Chelsea. I'd say it's maybe 5.5 would be my guess, but if it's at 5 and he's definitely starting, I'd definitely pick Butland. What do I think of a Silva Sane double up? I don't like doubling up at the start of the season, Arjun. We have another new subscriber. Sam Leslie has just joined the flock. Thank you so much. Benga Sofalu, definitely agree with you on the Chelsea options. Spoken about the Burnley, so apologies if I seem to ignore questions now, but we do want to try and wrap this up, and I have answered some of these already. Richarlison to Everton, worth taking a punt. I think under Silva potentially could be worth a punt. I'd still wait for some pre-season performances. João Moutinho, I think is a great player. I don't think he is going to be the best option from that Wolves side, so I wouldn't necessarily go towards him. I think you want the attacking players there, and I think their wingers look like the best bets for me. I know you might be paying a little bit more, but I think it could pay off. Fabregas, would he start? I think he could potentially start. May not necessarily stay in the side once everyone is back and fully fit. For me, assists aren't as important as goals for midfielders. So if there's someone scoring the same amount of goals as Fabregas, I might bring them in over him. Iheanacho, not really looking at right now. Could tempt me eventually, but no, Zach, not really tempted by him at the moment. Sam Bennett, for all the players that were the same price as Kante last season, he was the highest scoring. At least that still have that price. Leno to check to start. I don't know who's starting out of those Sam Bennett out of the Arsenal keepers. Is Lovren a good buy? If you can scrape the cash for Robertson, I'd go Robertson. Sigurdsson or Richarlison if Richarlison joins Everton. That would be really difficult. Mkhitaryan or Ramsey. I prefer Ramsey. Bakary. 162 people watching. Get in. Richarlison, Sigurdsson. I'd probably go Sigurdsson just because pedigree-wise and history-wise, he's done it for longer in the Premier League. Sanchez early. Could be a good punt. I just don't like my punts being that expensive, Jeff. Max Hensel. The reason for Arnautovic is just I think he will start up front. I think some of the big clubs are there for the taking at the beginning of the season. I think Arnautovic could be one of those that punishes people that just ignored him because of the fixtures. Eddie Guna, how you doing, my friend? Robertson or Davies? I prefer Davies like long term because he did it for most of last season when he played, whereas Robertson came into his own in the tail end of last season. Eddie Gooner asking Mendy or Ben Davies. Again, I'd probably, if you need Man City coverage, Mendy is probably going to be a decent shout, but I think I still prefer Ben Davies myself. Eriksen unlikely to start because he's only just recently rejoined with the side for pre-season training. Don't get me wrong, Igor. If a week beforehand he's played enough pre-season friendlies and seems like he's going to start, excuse me, I will bring Eriksen in. Wolves defence, I think, will do well. Apparently Pepe's now linked. That's a lot of Portuguese players they're bringing in. Douglas at wing-back. I know his stats will drop off. Well, I don't know that. I'm just pretty confident his stats will drop off, which is why I don't have Douglas. But if he shows signs of carrying on his form, then Douglas will come in. Azpilicueta or Alonso, I think for attacking returns, it's Alonso. But I think Azpilicueta's probably more secure in that side at the moment. Kane or Orba for the beginning of the season, definitely Orba. Eriksen will start. I know he's gone to the USA for the friendlies, but that doesn't mean he's going to be starting like, say, half a game. He could be playing like 10 minutes and 15 minutes. If I think Eriksen is starting, and again, this is all conjecture because we don't know who will return to fitness quickly, who will need more time. So right now, I'm not risking anyone that got anywhere in the World Cup. As soon as I think that will change, although I suppose you could say you're risking Salah, he was at the World Cup. But I feel like where I'm at is flexible enough that I can bring in a player like Eriksen quickly if I need to. De Bruyne or Kane is a bit of a strange question because different positions. If you can only afford one, I'd maybe go De Bruyne just because money-wise you can then spend that elsewhere in your side. Jesus or Aguero? You'll have to ask Pep Guardiola that, Paul. You'll have to ask Pep. James Maddison does look outstanding in value, Ross Graham. My issue is Leicester's fixtures. Man United first. 2 games, Wolves, Southampton, and then Liverpool. Then you've got 4-game run, then Arsenal. If he looks good, Maddison will be coming to my team quickly, to be fair. I do think he could hit the ground running at Leicester City. Who will score more points as a pairing, Aspie and Deulofeu or Christensen and Arnie? I'd say Christensen and Arnie myself. But I'm not confident in that answer by any means. Manan Patel, Aubameyang, does not have difficult fixtures once they get past game week 2. You've got game week 3 onwards: West Ham, Cardiff, Newcastle, Everton, Watford, Fulham, Leicester, Crystal Palace. So it's just the first 2, and I think those 2 sides they're playing, Man City and Chelsea, are going to be weaker because of the World Cup. So I still think Aubameyang can get some goals. As for Arnie over Zaha, just right now it's a gut feeling. Don't get me wrong, I still think Zaha is a good pick, but my gut is going with Arnautovic. Lennon for Burnley, I think Goodmanson's a better option right now than Lennon, even if he does start, because Goodmanson has some set-piece duties. Bit of groovy background music would be good. I worry about adding music because I don't know if it would drown my voice out and stuff like that. Advertising board behind you. Josh King, a good third striker punt. I think there's better punts like Burnley strikers, for instance. I think would be a good shout for cheap strikers. Again, Callum Wilson, I would navigate more towards Burnley's strikers if I was going for cheap strikers. Benga, I definitely agree with you. Wood's got great stats. Fitness is an issue. Coleman essential. I don't think Coleman is an essential. In fact, if I went to Robertson, I'd probably be covering myself ownership-wise a lot better, Adam. Big Adil wants to say Tom Cairney takes free kicks. Thank you for the input. He does. He's a decent shout, a cheap shout. Just nothing about that Fulham side excites me yet. Don't get me wrong, I think the Seri transfer was good, but I'm waiting for a bit more. Hamilton 44 is a Liverpool defender essential, potentially. Apologies to anyone's team questions that I'm not answering. We are trying to wrap up the stream now, so apologies. Generally, I start around or just after 8:30, so feel free to come in with your team questions next stream, and hopefully I will be doing another stream soon. Wow, I'm still so far behind. Danny Armstrong, I've been shouting out Goodmanson. If you're looking at Burnley players, Goodmanson's a good look. Benga, I think Goodmanson's a better shout than Aaron Lennon, personally. But I think Burnley could start off very strong. Sven, what do I think about 4 million defenders? Wan-Bissaka is my favoured one at the moment. That is the one I'd look at. Peltier I had. I've now gone to Wan-Bissaka. James Maddison, the new Mahrez. I think that's some big shoes to fill, but I think he could do a good job at Leicester. Any West Ham fans, is Fabianski nailed? I'd assume he is, but we'll have to wait to see. Anne O'Brien, Auba and Silva, or Lacazette and Sane? I'd probably say, oh, that's difficult because I prefer Sane to Silva. I prefer Auba to Lacazette. I'd probably go Auba and Silva. But for the beginning of the season, if your budget only allows one of those two options, again, I worry about Silva, although Spain got knocked out in the round of 16. Lacazette and Sane, I think, are more likely to be nailed on starters. Is Lauren a good shout for 5? I don't know. With Matip, I think Matip's picked up an injury, so he might be. What about Gundogan at 5.5 from Martin? Again, I think there's better options if you're looking at Man City, unless you need a cheap midfielder. Potentially, he's a decent shout. Morata, 9 million is cheap, worth a punt. Again, I want to see more of Chelsea before I jump on that. You need more Liverpool defence from it, Sheepy. Look, whatever I do, someone's going to say I need something. But yes, Robertson could come in for Coleman. You're right, Jamal. Thanks for joining the stream. What about Bailly? True, I just would like someone that maybe might get a bit further forward than Bailly if I was going Man United. Richard S, do you always rotate? I've always rotated goalkeepers. I don't know why. Again, maybe it is time to just pick one goalkeeper and stick with it and not worry for the rest of the season. Callum Pearson, thanks for joining the stream, my friend. Ruben Neves, we talked about, he's a good 5.5 million option. Luke McCormack with the punts of Sigurdsson and Morata. I think that's decent. My team name is probably just FPL today. I don't come up with anything clever. Is Cavallero on pens, Gordon Gilbody? If he is, I thought Neves might have had him. I know he's on set piece duty, but Cavallero on pens, decent shout. But I think Yotta's stats trump him. But the penalties would definitely help. 5.5 million with penalties. Richarlison, Justin Lee, I think could be good, but I worry that he may have just been a flash in the pan. Miguel Miranda, I think Mahrez will start the first game of the season. Pep shocker on the first game week, potentially. Do you have a league? Yes, I do have a league. And there it is for you guys. There is the league code. 52801761. There in that corner. I need to learn to point. There we go. Firmino greater than Aubameyang. As players go, I'd say they're very close, but I think I've got Salah. 6.5 mid or 6.5 forward? I'd go 6.5 mid, Louis Marcos. Exactly, Robert Moore. Burnley beat Chelsea last year. Big teams can be taken early on in the season. Loki Doki, one Liverpool player, you mug. I'm trying to cover my bases, Loki. And I didn't know you'd be in the stream, otherwise I may have just quickly snuck in Robertson. Discussion is Coleman to Robertson by the chat. So Robertson could join the team. With the addition of Alisson in goal, I do think the defence is looking very strong. I heard Matip got an injury though. So I don't feel like I need Firmino, Salah and Mane at the beginning. Just because I'm going to be captaining Salah for the majority of the first couple of games, so I'm trying to cover other bases. Wood or Milivojevic? Different positions, but I'd probably say Milivojevic. Quinton Jansen. Yeah, I don't think I've seen you in one of my streams recently, but thanks for joining the stream, my friend. Fabregas, I personally prefer Pedro, Joshua. Fabianski and Arnautovic, by as much their shit for... Whoa. Make me swear on stream. Thanks, Gauss Heisenberg. I don't think Arnautovic is bad for his price. I think Arnautovic is a very good pick. He looks like he's going to have a good goal-scoring record. Fabianski at Swansea, who got relegated, was still one of the highest-scoring goalkeepers. So that is why those two are in there. Robert Moore, it's more fun to rotate keepers. True, it's more of a headache as well, though. Neves or Jota? I'd definitely say Jota. Jota or Pedro? I'd probably go long-term Jota. Ramon Vonkanen is going to try and have Orba and Aguero. Well, you're hoping for a 4-4 then in that first game, yeah? Lingard, good idea or bad idea? I think with Fred coming in and Matic still at Man United, where's Pogba going? Is he going more forward? Does that mean Lingard is going to be sacrificed? So, BS Films, I'm not sure Lingard is as nailed on as he was last season. Sorry, there is a fly bugging me. There you go, it's gone away. Robert Moore saying Pedro is a good shout, so at least some people agree with my picks. Anyway, guys, apart from big Adil Wilson for Bournemouth score 15 goals if he stays fit, bargain at 6 million. That's the problem though, will he stay fit? If he starts scoring, I will put him into my side. We've got transfers. I've got a wild card coming, so it's all good. Anyway, thank you guys so much for joining the stream tonight. Sorry I had to rush through a bit at the end, but as a lot of you know, I recently have got a newborn, 4 months old now, so we have to try and not let the streams go on as long as last season, where I think we did some 3-hour ones, and I got very drunk in some of them. So for this season, unfortunately, the streams will have to be cut a bit short, but the support today was amazing. Thank you guys so much for the support. If you want to support the stream in any way, there are various links in the description down below, and you can become a Patreon as well if you want to. I think I'm pointing the wrong way. It's that way. You can become a Patreon as well. There will be some benefits to becoming a Patreon this year, hopefully. So feel free to join the likes of Jeff, the likes of Another Hoops and more, who are all Patreons for my channel. And subscribe and hit that notification bell if you haven't already. We are growing very quickly at this time of year, as we usually do. All your support, sharing the videos and everything like that is huge and really, really helpful. So thank you guys. You guys make this channel almost as much as I do. In fact, probably more, because if you didn't watch it, where would I get the motivation? So thank you guys so much. We'll just quickly nail through any more questions that I think I should answer. Shashank thinks Coleman will repeat his best season ever under Marco Silva. I hope so, with him in my side at the moment. Moutinho price, probably around the same as Neves, I reckon. Maybe 5, maybe 5.5. Pogba, 8 million bargain. Potentially he could be unlocked with more defensive signings. Or sorry, Fred, basically. So I think Pogba could be a good shout. Is Sean Morrison a good shout? Potentially he could be. Definitely capable of getting some goal-scoring returns. Sessegnon or Jota? I'm definitely going with Jota. I think Wolves look a lot stronger. Thank you, Oliver Carafas, for subscribing. Walcott, I think with Richarlison coming in, Walcott isn't really necessary. Getting drunk will happen at some point. Don't worry about that. Just go until you pass out. I don't think the family would be very happy with me. Who do you think of swapping Pedro for game week 2? I may keep him in if I think he's still going to play. And then Zaha, Firmino and King up front for me. I think that's good front three. I personally think Burnley strikers are better than King. Anyway, guys, that is it for the stream. Thank you so much for joining the stream. We're calling it now. I've been JNO. This has been FPL Today. And remember, it's all about the game.